Alright, plan of attack. Let's see. So I'm going to take the cooler lines off. I think I've pretty much gotten everything else off of this. So, this is for what bolts are left that weren't put in. I've got the two or three at the top here that you needed to get some things off to get at, which I can see. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the anti-torque bracket. I'm going to remove these bolts first while I can get at them. And maybe, well, another one they missed. I'm going to take these two bolts that I can get at here. I'm going to get these first. I'm going to put my anti-torque bracket back on here and use that as a lifting point on this side. And then I'll have the lines off. And I will attach the chain, I guess, to, I'm thinking this top bracket here where the engine mount goes. And then I got 2 points to lift on either side of the transmission. I'll support this while I do it from underneath. I'll put the jack under there while I'm taking this off. I need to take this engine mount off anyway to get to the line, so I'll put the jack underneath. And I don't know that I'll bother putting the crane on first because I won't have had any bolts out really yet. For anybody that's interested, I mentioned earlier, I see a lot of people do this where they have the car up on blocks in the back, or they have it on jack stands in the back. And while I do have one under there, taking a little bit of the weight, you'll see that I went to the extra effort, even though I took the half shaft out. I am over here by myself, and I absolutely hate being underneath cars that aren't supported, even if they have jack stands. I just don't like it. So I've got the jack stand for on each side under the subframe for added measure. Took the shafts out and did put the wheels back on, put the strut back. I still have plenty of room to reach everything I need on this motor mount right here. That's not going to be a problem. So I'll be able to reach it. Should be able to take off the lines. And then a few bolts, and I think I'll be ready to think about taking this out. It'll be, inch it up and twist it, and inch it up and twist it. I saw another video that somebody complained they couldn't get it by this tab here, but then I saw another video after that where somebody said they could just tilt it a little bit and it was no problem. I really don't want to take off the cross member here because I am supporting the engine from it, so I really don't want to take it off unless I absolutely have to. If I have to move it out, I'll just move this bolt hole out to here and I'll re-bolt it if that happens. That way I know I'm still supporting the engine. It's really more for balance. I mean, that motor is still on its motor mount on the other side, so it's not like when you take the subframe down and you really do have to completely suspend the engine. I'm not doing it that way, so I am coming out the top, so I'm not dropping the subframe. So again, this is a little bit of a learning process on taking it out the top on this car. Obviously, we've got to repeat it on that car. And we'll move it on over. One piece of interesting news: we did start pulling the top end of this off. My son was over the other day. I finally got him a little bit interested in some things, and I thought when I got this car, this throttle body looked kind of new compared to the rest of the car, and that's about as new as it gets. Somebody changed the throttle body on this car just before they lost the tranny on it. I can tell that this is definitely the original tranny. It's still got the insulation on it. That any of these cars that have had transmission work done, it's likely that insulation is long gone. That just kind of flakes and comes off. So anyway, that was kind of some good news. We're deciding what parts are going to stay on this car, what I'm going to move from the other one. You can see on this car as we get into it that there's getting to be a little bit of leakage here. That's got to be coming through on the head gasket stuff, which I literally just on this car, not more than 100 to 150 miles before it got wrecked, I had just resealed the valve covers. So I think I may be taking the valve covers with brand new seals on them from this and moving them over too. I'm this far into it, motor's apart. It's really easy to get at them. It's only about 8 or 9 bolts. So I think I'll probably since we'll have the intake off of this car, I am going to use the intake in the other car because it's got a brand new injector set in it. Move it over, new injector set, new seals. So that'll move over to this car. I'll reuse this brand new throttle body. I'll move the valve covers over since they have brand new seals. I'm probably going to pull 1 or 2 spark plugs out of this. I don't know. There's no way I know anything about the history of this car when it was done. Oh, I'll probably move since I have a nice new, newish water pump. I'll probably move that over too. Don't know anything. I'll probably pull a plug or two and see what these look like. Again, the plugs that are in this car only have about 100 miles on them. The coil packs, 30,000 miles, but they were kind of cheapy coil packs they put on that car. So I don't know. I think these are still the Fords. They're probably fine unless I have some issue pulling them out. I'll probably reuse these coil packs unless they give me a problem. They're not hard. They're easy to change anyway. So if I have any problems with misfires or anything, I'll probably just spring and buy a new set of coil packs if I have any problems with those. Kind of got. I don't see too much in the way of oil on this engine. A little tiny bit. So I don't think there's anything leaking. It may just be a little tiny bit of the valve cover leakage I see here right at the top. I got a little bit of crud down there around the dipstick area. But that could be just people spilling oil when they're putting oil in. That could just be old oil accumulation, or sometimes that valve cover right there leaks a little bit. It's not unusual. So that's not overly concerning to me at this point. The other thing I may move in this car, even though this one does not have a problem, is, again, maybe 10,000 miles on the starter in this car. I may move that over too. I do know I have a little bit of the interior I got to move. You can see the compartment inside of this car, for unknown reasons, is not in very good shape, so we'll figure out how to move that one, which is perfectly good. I'm going to have to get into the user manual to figure out how that comes out. It's probably going to require taking the center piece of this out. Who knows? Those things, they look simple, but they never are. So we'll figure out how to move that lid over. I think that's it. I'm gonna turn some wrenches, get my. I think I'll get my hoist hooked up, and then maybe I'll video that. Where it's on the anchor point. Again, I've watched these videos and people talk about things, but they never give you any details. So I think that'll be kind of nice for someone if they want to see what I'm doing, how it works or it doesn't work, or what problems I might run into. But again, I'll do the anchor points that I'm using. We'll see how that works out. Hopefully it's balanced. I do have my engine hoist here, and I did go to Eastwood Products. I guess I'm lucky. I live right next to Eastwood. And I got these. I got 2 of them because I'm assuming that if I'm hanging, I might have needed 4 anchor points. I don't know. I'll start with 2. If need be, I'll do it with 4. Depends on what the balance looks like. They weren't that expensive, so I've got these anchors, and we'll use that with the lift if need be. I don't know whether I'm going to need it or not. This place is a bit of a mess right now. Like all projects, things just get strewn about. I do have my engine leveler if I need it. But I think I'm gonna start without it and see where I get. All right, onward. Just in case anybody says you can't get the motor mounts out with the tire on, I beg to differ. You most certainly can. As you can see, I've got this rigged up with a long set of extensions and a U-joint on the end. I've already gotten the front 2 out. I'll have the bottom 2 out in a second. Yes, there's a lot more room if you take the tire off. I'm well aware, but I have the I do have the liner out, and you can absolutely reach through. By the way, this breaker bar has been a godsend, and you can see I've already gotten the front 2 out. Have these out. Take my bottom 2 out, and I'll be able to slide this motor mount right on out of here. So that'll be good. All right, we're getting close to the moment of truth here. Cooler lines are off. Hooked up through one of the mounting holes. Hooked up through another mounting hole. I had considered using 2 lifting chains and trying to go front and rear, but they would end up being so close to one another. I'm not really sure I would net much. So I'm going to go here and we'll see what happens. Hopefully this thing doesn't roll too much. I guess we'll find out. But at this point, I'm going to go ahead and remove the jack from underneath. I'll just roll it back. I'll roll it back through the back of the car. And I got the weight now on the crane. And then I guess it's just a matter of unbolting and lifting and turning. See what we get. Yeah, I was hoping I was going to be pulling this tranny tonight, but I've been sitting here trying to do different things, figuring out the best way to support this motor once I take the tranny off. I've been sort of lifting the weight off and letting it down, lifting off and letting it down, and I didn't like the way this motor was rotating. Because I still have the tires on and I have the long forks on the lift, I can't really come in at an angle from this corner. I can't really go around from the other side. I was trying to put maybe a jack underneath the oil pan, but the way this leg goes under there, I really don't have any very good access to it. The leg goes right through the spot I would need to put the jack. So I've been messing around with some various different things. I think I finally came up with something that worked. I have my ratchet straps around both the exhaust manifold and now on the water pump housing. It's not taking the full weight of the motor. All it's doing is keeping it from rotating. As you can see, I've got the weight now off of the tranny, so that's the full weight that this is. Probably actually more because it's got the transmission on it. So that's actually more weight than this is going to hold. It seems to be very secure on here. I might put a bolt, I don't know, maybe a bolt with a big washer here just in case to make sure that this doesn't go anywhere. This I know won't go anywhere. It's around the exhaust manifold. It can't. So now I've got the weight. I've got the weight on here. Doesn't seem to be hurting anything. It's not hurting my plastic any. If anything, once I get the transmission out, this will be actually a little bit lighter. So I feel much better about that than I did when I got started. So maybe tomorrow we'll actually be pulling.